Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Friday night after the bell, doing a unique style tonight where we did a quick 10-minute video about the main event, and then this is what we are calling the follow, which is going to be the rest of Smackdown, where we start to drill down into the rest of the show. This is going to be your more long form version of the recap of the entire SmackDown show. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hey, welcome back to Don't Bury the Lead. John, we didn't bury the lead for the lead. Let's not bury the rest of the stories for the follow. So, hey, welcome to the follow. What's the next big story that we don't want to bury here on Don't Bury the Lead from tonight's edition, April 14th of WWE Smackdown? A lot of talk in this show. Some matches, including one squash. Do you want to go match next, or do you want to dig into a lot of the extracurricular segments that we were graced with on this show? What do you like?
I like, we had a good main event, and overall, I think the show was pretty good. We had a good main event with Sol Sikoa going over Matt Riddle.
Mm-hmm.
We did get a lot of promos and storyline stuff. Maybe we could, and I'll kick it to you because you're a pretty big fan of these people. But
Sure, match of the night. Let's go opening match.
Yeah,
the opening was a promo. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the ring, confrontation with the Usos, but that goes about 12, 13 minutes. We come back from commercial and we get the long-awaited rematch of that tremendous 2-minute match they had on a previous SmackDown. It's Xavier Woods and LA Knight, and this was an entertaining match.
It really
was. Xavier Woods winds up winning. And it's a neat little, somewhat of a comedy spot, but for most of this match, this is the kind of match that keeps someone like me watching the show because it was really good in-ring action. And, I can set aside for a minute that both of these guys have been kind of buried and are looking for some sort of daylight as they try their best to get into some sort of program that they can get them more airtime and maybe some title consideration. But I like this match. What say you, Xavier? Excuse me, Xavier Woods and LA Knight.
Yeah, a weird one because I feel like you never see Xavier Woods wrestle, and I haven't seen him really wrestle in years. And he seems like he's doing a lot of video game promos, and he's like in everything else besides the wrestling aspect of it.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's a smart guy and he knows, hey, I'm working for this company. I could do other things and get paid and not break my neck, But I think Xavier Woods and LA Knight was a pretty good display of Xavier Woods can wrestle, and LA Knight has continued to always have good matches and good charisma. They're both charismatic. That's the one thing I have to say between Xavier Woods and LA Knight. So from that perspective, you kind of want to watch these two wrestle in the ring. And I think they're doing a lot of traditional, like I'd say some unique things that you don't see too often necessarily. And one is completely crazy, but LA Knight DDT'd Xavier Woods. And I'm like, nobody does that anymore. And it used to be like the move that everybody ever did when you were watching, like in the early aughts, the late 90s, everybody had some variation of a DDT. So I saw that and I was like, yeah, whoa, a DDT. But some pretty good stuff and kind of a weird finish with the grabbing of the tights. So that never made sense to me, and I haven't seen it in a while, but I used to see it again like 3 years ago. I stopped watching. And that was just every night you saw one person grabbing the tights, and then Michael Cole screaming, "Oh, he's got him by the tights," and then that would be it. So LA Knight goes to grab the tights, then the ref stops him and he argues with the ref, and then Xavier Woods rolls him up and grabs him by the tights, and the ref does not catch that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Woods didn't go for it right away. Like LA Knight rolls him up and he's staring right at the ref and goes immediately for the trunks. And so the ref sees it and is like, no, you can't do that. And then, like you're saying, while he's arguing, Xavier Woods gets his bearings about him, rolls up LA Knight now, but it's a good roll up. And the referee goes down to count. And then 1, 2, Xavier Woods grabs the tights between 2 and 3 because at that point he needs the extra leverage to hold him down. Ref never sees that. So, yeah, a little bit of turnabout is fair play there. Xavier Woods, that's kind of the grabbing the tights. It's kind of a comedy spot. And he's also he's got to be the best paid lousy trombone player in the world, right?
Right.
And like this is such a part of his gimmick, the lousy trombone playing. Too much comedy because, like you're saying, the guy can wrestle.
Yeah, there is a certain man in the back now with a little mustache that is 100% back in the picture. McMahon. And it's pretty clear with the finish because I haven't seen this one in a while, but he loves the trunks thing, man. So I don't think you're getting away from that anytime soon because he loves that happened so many times with every heel holding the trunks, and it was always just like every time I'm like, okay, this is the spot they do. And I haven't.
Do you also love the trombone? Because Xavier Woods is really playing up the trombone.
Yes. Something about the trombone was it just got Woods and the New Day way over 7 years ago, whenever they came onto the scene, 8 years ago, the trombone was like, it was loud enough and the crowd loved it and they just stuck with it. And that's just his thing. But now I think people are almost desensitized. They're like, oh yeah, it's Xavier Woods with the trombone.
But, was that the Scott era of WWE? It was the Attitude Era, and then like the Ruthless Aggression, and at some point they went ska, and suddenly it was trombone music that was getting people over.
It was not ska music era. I think it was more so PG. The PG era is what they would kind of refer to it as.
Oh, of course. Okay, and the trombone is a very PG instrument.
Yeah.
I guess. Right. But he's really using this. I mean, they go after this match. They've got Imperium backstage talking about talking business, as guys would do at the office there. And there's Xavier Woods playing his trombone because what better way to celebrate a hard-fought victory in the ring than to walk around the back of an arena playing a trombone? Woods is doing this. It annoys Imperium. Gunther challenges Woods. Excuse me. To an IC title match. What do you think of this?
Well, it makes sense that they kind of elevate someone from the bottom. I would say the bottom of the roster, not even the middle. These two kind of, Woods has been in advertising, and LA Knight's just completely buried, which is still so peculiar. Because, but yeah, the IC title challenge kind of makes sense because they just want to keep beating Gunther and keep him going. And anytime Gunther's in a match, in a singles IC title match, I bet you a lot of people are chomping at the bit, specifically the workers. They want to go and wrestle him because he does put on good matches. And you can probably show that around at some point. Like, if you're like, oh yeah, I had this great match at one point with Gunther on a SmackDown. So
you've mentioned that WWE sometimes has trouble elevating baby faces. And Roman Reigns is kind of a heel world champion. They need baby faces to go after him. It's going to be interesting to see who they decide. Keeping the belt on Gunther and making him decidedly a heel. They need baby faces. For better or for worse, Xavier Woods, a baby face. And maybe better when he's not in the New Day tag team.
It's good to see him spotlight alone without the New Day, because they have been pretty stale for a while now. So without the New Day, man, if they could just change a little, like a few little tweaks here where they tone it down with the video game stuff
Mhm.
in the Titantron, and they just kind of tweak it a little bit. You could take Woods a little bit more serious because he is good in the ring.
Yeah,
I have no complaints with his work, and even both of them kind of doing unique stuff. Um, but yeah, that's all I really had for this specific match: LA Knight versus Xavier Woods. I guess maybe one more thing because this
sure,
is our follow, so we're gonna
sure.
just drag this bad boy out. Um, the LA Knight, I really thought coming out of WrestleMania, he was going to get a push because he was over. He's been getting buried. Sometimes they do this where they'll bury someone that they kind of did it with Ricochet, where he
Mm.
kept losing, and then they start saying, "Okay, he's doing good. He's over. Give him some wins." That is just not the case with LA Knight.
But he wasn't squashed. It wasn't a 2-minute roll up.
He
This
lost
was
30 to the baby.
he lost a little dirty.
Yeah.
So maybe he has a reason for the trifecta, the trilogy of LA Knight, Xavier Woods matchups here. If Xavier Woods wasn't already scheduled to go wrestle Gunther, maybe they're saving that one for down the road. But I mean, he looked good. This was a good looking match. I was encouraged by what I saw from each of these guys. I mean, whatever storyline they're in, maybe they deserve better from a ranking standpoint within the company, but entertaining match.
Yeah,
Two
for
good
sure.
workers, good personalities, good on the mic. Um, Difference of styles, but can work when they get in the ring. And they gave them some time tonight to have a good match.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah,
speaking of time, uh, we eventually got our second match of the night. It took a while to get here. Our second match of the night did not start until 8:52 p.m.
oh boy.
SmackDown begins at 8 p.m. here in Jersey.
52 minutes in.
This was
And
a long time to wait for match number 2, but it was preceded by Judgment Day, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio. And can we say good for Finn Balor for getting a week off? He has some legit injuries to heal up from. So good to see that the other three don't need him to lean on. That they're developing their personalities. They can do mic work. They can come out and work in the ring, work a program. But Damian Rhea, and I'm going to call him D-Mist because Dominic Mysterio is a mouthful.
yeah,
Um, they have a really contentious interview backstage, and then head to the ring where Damian keeps running down Bad Bunny and the Latino World Order, and then the LWO music hits, and neat little entrance. Zelina Vega sort of runs interference for the LWO at the entrance. Well, they come through the crowd and sort of jump Judgment Day. And then they roll out of the ring. They're laughing at Damian and Dominic Mysterio in the ring. And then they go to commercial because when we come back, we get our second match of the night. It's Damian Priest versus Santos Escobar. Both entourages out there for it. What do you think of this match? Eventually, Damian Priest wins with a choke slam. I forget what they call it for him specifically, but it's he's a big wrestler. He's bigger than Santos Escobar. It's a
it's a
power
choke
move. It's a
slam.
choke slam. It's a good one for a pin. What did you think of this match? Faction on faction, style versus style, and from what you saw from the members of Judgment Day that are getting to show more of their individual personalities here.
Judgment Day is pretty strong in implant. I think all the people on Judgment Day are in pretty good shape. I think they're positioned pretty well. They're over. Rhea and Dom are great, and Damian Priest plays his role. And specifically tonight in the ring, I haven't seen Damian Priest yet, so I
In a
don't think I've
one-on-one,
ever seen
no,
him
right?
wrestle ever. This is my first time, so
Okay.
I see why he was the U.S. champ because he could. He was pretty good in the ring, and then that's another guy from the Monster Factory. So we got Damian Priest and Matt Riddle, both from the
Okay.
Monster Factory, and both look good.
Yeah, they're doing good work.
Yeah, so kudos to boy. It was Larry Sharp, and I don't know who the guy is now. It was Larry Sharp originally,
Mm-hmm.
who started the Monster Factory. But um, I thought it was a pretty good match as far as Damian Priest is concerned. And then Escobar has been a guy that has consistently put together solid
Mm-hmm.
mid card, 9 o'clock, 8:50, 8:30, 8:50 matches on Friday night SmackDown. So
Mm-hmm.
he's always been pretty good. He's been thrown in some tournaments. Um, I will have to say, um, so I guess getting back to my point, the Judgment Day, they're solidified. The LWO, I don't know if that was getting any legs. It was kind of a weird faction they threw together. You can just see sometimes these don't work, and then everybody just kind of gets laid off. But tonight
They're
I heard,
teasing the WWE draft in a couple of weeks.
yeah,
Part of it's going to be on SmackDown, part of it's going to be on Raw. So, with that in mind, it looks like Judgment Day could be split up and the individual members could be strong.
yeah.
It looks like LWO has to stay together to be relevant unless they have just something crazy planned for one of them,
But tonight
right?
I did hear LWO chants from the crowd.
Okay.
So that was my that's one of my observations from the match was like, okay, people are chanting LWO, LWO. That's something. They're reacting to the baby faces. So it's something they could build off of. You could see they're really hamming up the LW thing because they all have the t-shirts. They
Mhm.
all have variations of it. I don't know if they're just hacking t-shirts or what the deal is, but they have, the Mexican colors. It looks like Puerto Rican colors. So they're doing. There's something there. I don't know if it's. I don't. I don't know that they're the next Four Horsemen, but they got something.
It's been a pivot. Remember when Legado del Fantasma started? They were the suit wearing, like cream of the crop Mexican elite, like the Mexican aristocracy. And, they were calling Santos Escobar the emperor of luchador.
All that stuff I don't even
Now
remember.
they're more blue collar, and that stuff that stuff went away. And it was a very quick babyface turn for them, and also a character turn. They're no longer the aristocracy heels; they're more like the working class, fun babyface wrestlers. It's been pretty remarkable to turn them that quickly, and we'll see if it has some legs. The Rey Mysterio connection hasn't hurt, and Rey does come out at the end here as Damian Priest tries to choke slam Santos through the announce table post match, but Rey Mysterio's music hit and they're all looking for him. He comes out of the crowd, surprises Damian, and eventually squares off with his son in the ring. Gets the upper hand on Dominic Mysterio, but Judgment Day pulls him to safety to avoid a 619. So the tie in with the busiest retired person in the world, Rey
Yeah,
Mysterio.
that was you got my second note. I said Ray's still working a lot, all caps, a lot.
A lot. Unbelievable. So again, going into this draft here and into Backlash, they're setting up for a lot of storylines that are either going to pivot or maybe even break apart and have to, disintegrate and then reemerge into something else. A lot of teasers there, a lot of possibilities. The match was good though. It was a long time coming to get our second match of the night, but pretty good match once we got it right in the ring.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and good first match I've ever seen with Damian Priest. They gave him plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is another one of the matches where there was a lot of people out there. That can be a little distracting sometimes in the live crowd,
Yeah.
especially when you've got like three people on the side for one guy and then three people on the side for the other guy, and they're all running around and they're banging and they're kind of like being distracting. Sometimes it's just a little much, a little distracting, but um,
Everything's a lumberjack match these days.
that seemed like the theme of the night. I don't know if it's uh, the Mustache Man, Vince McMahon, back there saying like he wants all the guys out there to kind of develop storylines, or if it's just like what the agent was thinking that night. Cause I don't know. It just seemed pretty consistently. They followed the format with a ton of people outside of the ring, but Yeah. Anything else from this match? Oh, I wanted to ask you about this match, and this is a
Sure,
little off
sure.
topic of the match, but so the very end happened, the finished Priest, and then there's all kinds of schmaz, and then Rey Mysterio runs in,
Hmm.
and Rey Mysterio faces off with Dominic Mysterio, and the crowd really reacts to this again.
Yeah.
Do you want to see them continue this storyline and have like a series of matches? Like we could see them in SummerSlam again, or are you done? Or you think that this vendetta has resolved itself?
They can wrestle some more if it goes somewhere. Um, I don't know what else they could add to it, but if they find something, okay.
Well, you look at some of these great rivalries, and they start with the regular match, and then they can add the gimmick matches after that. Because once they have the good normal match, then we kind of talked about this with AEW, where they went right to the Iron Man match with Daniel Bryan and MJF, and they hadn't even wrestled yet, and that was a great match. But then, like, oh, they already blew the gimmick match. So I don't know if they could still extend this one, or we say, hey, we had a good match from them in WrestleMania. They still don't like each other, but we don't need to see them again.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is Ray and Dominic keeping alive their feud, or if it's just to kind of add juice to the LWO by keeping Ray around. And maybe Ray has to transition into this role. If they want to keep him on screen and keep using him, maybe he becomes sort of this figure in the LWO, but more of maybe a manager and not having to wrestle all the time. But if their goal is for this guy who just went into the Hall of Fame to wrestle a lot, I mean, he's got a ready-made opponent in Dominic. They only had them wrestle once, even though the program went on for months. So, like you're saying, maybe they have legs if they do different kinds of matches, different kinds of wrinkles in them. The only problem with that is the babyface already went over.
Yeah, right. So they're the next one. Dom's got to go over,
So I
and
don't know
then
where they go from there. It would be a different kind of booking than say we're used to in pro wrestling if they do that.
for sure. All right. Well, um, we also had some segments here,
Yes.
and I thought of you during this one, so I'll let you break it down because these are like both of your two favorites. It's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez
Okay.
coming out and shooting a promo about their
Hmm.
victory on Raw. So we missed
Yep. New
all,
tag champs on the women's division.
yeah,
Um, Liv comes out first. She's wearing all white ring attire and a white blazer. And the first thing that goes through my head is, oh no, they're turning her vanilla.
right.
This is what Vince Russo wanted to do to Rhea Ripley when he mentioned on either a podcast he did or an interview he gave. And people were saying, are you crazy? No, you would destroy what makes Rhea interesting. Oh my goodness, are they destroying what makes Liv Morgan interesting? So I saw that and I went, oh, a little cringe. They're taking someone who was interesting and who was committed to her character, and they're making her kind of vanilla. But I do like the tandem there, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I get a Ricochet Braun Strowman vibe out of them. That there's something interesting about their styles, and can they make it work together? Um, you're
Raquel,
right. I've been impressed by them individually, and I think they're a pretty good tag team if they develop more chemistry. I will say though that it's trying to make them these vanilla baby faces. They're going to need some work on that character wise because when Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green interrupt them and march out from the back and get in the ring to confront them, I think Sonya and Chelsea are a little better on the mic
wow. Oh,
um,
definitely. I
than
don't think
what
I've
they're
ever
having the
heard
champs
Raquel
do.
Rodriguez on the mic. So this is the first time. I was actually kind of surprised because I figured she would be some sort of Mexican or Spanish accent, and she just sounded like she was, I don't know. She sounded like a anywhere USA. She
She's
could
from Texas. Yeah, she's one of the few people who they've tried to play up the ethnic thing with from a
yeah.
music entrance point and leaving her name Raquel Rodriguez instead of changing it to something like Roxy Rod, or something,
Mhm.
that would be a thin mustache man thing to do. But leaving it as Raquel Rodriguez, but not making her, a luchador. Like all the Japanese wrestlers are Japanese wrestlers. All the wrestlers who are Japanese in the WWE, they're Japanese wrestlers. And a
Right.
lot of the wrestlers who are Mexican in the WWE, they're Mexican wrestlers. And if you know wrestling, you know what I'm saying there.
Right.
Raquel Rodriguez, not she's just she's just a wrestler, and I think that's cool. So I have seen her speak a few times in clips. They don't give her a lot of mic time because I mean, really, her character is that she doesn't usually need that. Ironically, the only time I really saw her do mic work was in a backstage segment when she was squaring off with Liv Morgan, her eventual tag team partner. Liv, I don't know. I liked her better when she was more unusual and unique and more of the unexpected. I don't
Yeah.
like the expected Liv Morgan as much. She could still go in the ring, but aside from being able to wrestle, her character was neat. I hope they're not destroying two pretty good characters here by making them just plain old baby faces.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
want to see this match? Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. I think it'll be a decent match. Sonya's good in the ring. I don't know much about Chelsea. I think it'll be an okay match. And for like a first feud for the new tag champs, I don't think it's bad.
they need to get some sort of continuity with that belt, and they need something like those two belts. Like they just feel like they've been lost and thrown to people, and
Mhm.
ever since Sasha Banks and um, boy, what's the glow girl? What is her name? Boy, not Jacqueline. Man. Anyways, Sasha
Are
Banks.
they a real tag team though?
Ever since Sasha Banks threw that belt out and left the company, the tag team belt,
Mhm.
it's been in disarray. The whole women's division's been in disarray as far as the tag team division. So we have a regular tag team. They have the belt. They have two competitors. Let's just keep it simple, folks, and let's build on that. So I'm
I
not
feel
mad.
like they're building on something that they did at the WrestleMania Women's Tag Team Showcase, where Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green were put together as a tag team for a few weeks. They wrestled at WrestleMania together, and they've kept them together. To your point, you've we said this in our WrestleMania recap. There's no women's tag division. Does
Mhm.
it look like they're at least trying?
Yeah, I'd say so. And that's all you really want is some sort of direction. And they've done, I mean, like, they've done stuff in the past when, like, people are, they're a little lost. They could go back to a tournament. I wouldn't
Mhm.
mind seeing a tournament. I don't know if they have enough people on the roster or if they just kind of build Raquel and Liv and hopefully they get over. And then you have your other workers come out and job to them for a little bit. And then maybe you kind of throw in Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, and you hide Rousey. I know.
I was just going to ask you about this. Are you happy or sad that they've kind of buried the people who won that WrestleMania showcase?
Yeah, completely makes no sense. She wins and then goes away, and maybe that's just like
And the belt switched to somebody else who lost.
right.
And the first defense is somebody else who lost.
They could have used the yeah. They're all over the place with how they're booking it. Honestly, I don't know who thought of this, but yeah, they're all over the place with what happened and how they set up WrestleMania, what happened where we're at now. Just throw it all out, give it to the two best individual workers they have that aren't in the title picture, which is Liv and Raquel. And now we can maybe build something off of this.
Yep.
All right.
I don't disagree. It seems a little confusing on a few fronts, but they're making an effort at a tag team division, which would be great because especially with them hinting that maybe they're combining the women's world titles. We need belts. I mean, they've got a fairly deep women's roster from a historical standpoint. And one of the ways we see this is Liv and Raquel won the belts from Becky Lynch and Lita, but it was they teased that Lita got injured, and so Trish Stratus filled in for her on Raw, and then eventually Trish turns on Becky Lynch, and it just it kind of crystallizes it for you that Lita and Trish were stars, 15, 20 years ago? It's a much better women's division now than it was then. They have a lot more wrestlers on the roster, and they're really good. So, yeah, let's see if we can make an effort at a tag team division. Let's see if we can make an effort at people chasing the world titles, the singles titles. Let's give it an effort.
For sure.
Do you want to move from there to something that there was not much of an effort? Our squash match of the night.
Oh, this was my bathroom break. So maybe you can break this.
I hope you went quick.
Right. This was. I heard the music, and I've seen. And
Shinsuke Nakamura.
I've seen him before, and he feels like a great wrestler in Japan. He won a Royal Rumble years ago in the WWE, and now he's kind of cruising on that theme song,
Yeah.
When he's coming out, he's doing the dance, doing the theme song, and then did he just squash Madcap Moss?
He did. Madcap Moss got a longer intro and pep talk from Emma, who was out there with him. Then he lasted in the ring. Near squash win by Nakamura. Post-match, Madcap tries to jump him. Nakamura reverses the attack into an armbar, and Emma has to pull Madcap Moss out of the ring. So, gosh, they're burying Madcap Moss here.
What's weird is they did enough. They went through they didn't make him a jobber. They're like, oh, you can do it before the match. And Emma's talking him up. So like, it'd be a real match. And then suddenly squash. So we did like 10 minutes of intros, 10, 15, because they had the time. And instead of having them have a regular match, it just had to be a squash, which is like,
we're not. They had him squash job to a guy who is in no title picture whatsoever.
Hey, they're just reintroducing this character. It's right.
Like Shinsuke Nakamura just crushed Madcap Moss worse than Karrion Kross did, worse than Gunther did.
Yeah, this is true.
My goodness. I mean, let's give Nakamura a title shot here. Look what he just did to Madcap Moss.
He comes in like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Squashes like he's this monster.
So I don't get it, but apparently he's the king of Japanese strong style, and Madcap Moss is back to playing video games. I don't know. At least they let him get in the ring this week. There's a couple of weeks in a row where his role was to play video games with Xavier Woods, while LA Knight got mad that two guys were playing video games.
He was the guy that sat there, and he was next to Xavier Woods playing the video game. Yes. Which is, I believe, any extra off the street could be like this.
Could do that.
We could have done. Vince, call us up, man. When you're in Philadelphia, if you need guys to pretend play video games, we're here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yes.
So hey, I mentioned Karrion Kross. Were you back from the bathroom quickly enough to see this?
Yeah, I actually. I was setting everything up in the back and in the studio during this, so I missed this match.
Okay, this match ends, and then backstage, we've got Scarlett, and she's drawing a card out of the deck. And it's Shinsuke Nakamura. And Karrion Kross is there and says, tick, tock. So not only did they bury Madcap Moss, they buried him just to do this pre-recorded vignette where Nakamura is going to be in a program with Karrion Kross.
What? Why? Why is there a deck of cards and then the cards aren't regular cards? They're just wrestlers on them,
Yeah.
and then they say tick tock.
Yeah, like the clock is ticking. I'm coming for you. They did this to Rey Mysterio.
What is the gimmick? What is it?
The gimmick, like they're fortune tellers. They're mysterious fortune tellers, and
Okay.
so like they're telling your fortune, and your fortune is doom.
But they had done this. They did this before, and it seemed like they
Yes,
were just people that would dance.
yes.
Uh, professional. Not they're not like cheerleaders, but like they kind
They're
of
dancing with the stars,
Dancing with the Stars style people,
but
whatever
it's with
ballroom.
WWE tarot deck of cards. Dancing with the cards
Yes, they're
while the smoke machine plays.
right. They're like ballroom dancers, but now they are ballroom dancers that are fortune tellers.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And we liked when for a little bit there within the Rey Mysterio program, they just let Karrion Kross be like a normal big badass dude.
Like he is. Yeah.
Like it was better. But like that's over. So now he's back to tick tock as he shows you your card that his equally creepy wife just turned over from a tarot deck.
Oh no.
Oh wow.
The
So
creative guy,
okay.
the creative guy that's been working on the Bray Wyatt stuff is now
Yes.
working on his stuff, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, say TikTok. 'Cause TikTok will like hit an algorithm or
Why
something."
can't they turn over the Bray Wyatt card?
Uh, well,
The Viking Raiders surprise attack Ricochet and Braun Strowman. That's going to be a match. So they're also trying to keep alive the idea that the men's tag team division is pretty deep, which is good because this Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens versus the Usos program, Bloodline versus anti-Bloodline faction can't go on forever, as at least not with the belts there. So, do you see the belts getting off of Sammy and KO pretty quickly?
um, I wouldn't be. Well, there's not really anybody in order to get them back, and it's almost like the Usos had them for so long. I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but we'll just keep saying it. It's tough to have faces and they have the championship, and they typically are tougher to book when they have the title
Yep.
because then there's nobody chasing them; they're just there. Um, yeah, I would say I wouldn't be too surprised if they dropped it relatively quickly and it put some animosity between the two of them because they're still kind of building that up.
Okay. I think that they don't need the tag belts to be where they are in the story.
No.
It was important that they take the belts away from the Usos, not so important that they keep them for themselves.
Hmm.
That's how I saw it. It's like it's a big deal that they beat the Usos to get the belts, but I don't necessarily see the belts enhancing their characters all that much. So if there's going to be a deep men's tag team division, yeah, again, make the effort, and I will take the ride with you as long as you're giving me a good effort. So Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman. We're apparently supposed to get this pretty soon. Um, that would be interesting. Maybe it sets up somebody to challenge for the tag belts. It looks like there's going to be. Um, we did mention we did the lead. This is the follow. We don't bury the follow, but we're also going to reference the lead here because we not only don't bury it, but hey, if it's important, we keep bringing it up. Since there's going to be a rematch of the WrestleMania tag title match in a couple of weeks, I guess they're not saving that one for Backlash.
No.
And so now I don't know what happens. If this feud, like you're saying, strings along with the tag title being part of the feud, because the feud could be interesting without the belts, right?
Yeah.
Bloodline, anti-bloodline is interesting without the tag belts being involved.
Okay.
So
Well,
you could see them get the belts off of them, maybe to crystallize just the bloodline versus bloodline. So the, no pun intended, the blood feud there.
yeah. I wonder if what they're going to end up doing is just they're going to go real long term with this rivalry with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And they'll keep the belts on them and they could probably pass it back and forth. And like I said before, do you want to see more of this, like with Rey Mysterio and Dom? It feels like it concluded itself in WrestleMania, but they're going to keep going with the storyline for as long as they can. So who knows if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to be part of it, or if it's going to be more of Sami splits off and goes after the belt. I don't know. We'll see.
Do you like Sami in this new faction that they're building sort of around him?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Yeah, it's not. How do I put this? It seemed like the opportunity was to give him the belt and have him be the big babyface champ. That was probably one that they spoiled, but I mean, it could still happen with Roman Reigns having the belt. So if we get to a point where we get to there, we could do it. But yeah, I mean, Riddle can wrestle, but he seems like really out of place with these two, and maybe it gets a little too goofy in comedy. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't have a huge opinion on it. I guess we'll see.
No need to have a firm opinion on it now because it seems like it has some legs and they're teasing some new chapters for us. So we don't have to know it ahead of time and we don't have to totally fantasy book it. You mentioned Sami being over as a babyface and maybe the plan is still down the line to put the belt on him. Reminiscing back to WrestleMania, the main event of night two, Roman versus Cody for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And I've heard some people say that WWE really dropped the ball by not giving the fans what they wanted most, which was Cody winning. And I got to tell you, I watched that match and so did you. I don't think that's what the fans wanted most to see.
No.
I mean, yeah, Cody was the baby face, but enough people popped when Roman retained and won that I don't think it was a foregone conclusion, at least not for the people live in attendance at SoCal Stadium. You know, maybe the longtime hardcore WWE fans who pay big money for that, for those long events to sit through. And also, I think the crowd did get what they most wanted to see during that match. If you go by reactions, what that crowd most wanted to see was Sami Zayn hit the haluva kick on Roman Reigns and for Roman Reigns to stagger out of the corner and collapse to the mat. And they saw it. So the crowd did get to see what they wanted most of all. Good news for Sami that he remains hot, even though they didn't give him the big belt.
Oh, for sure. The more that the weeks have progressed here, the more it feels like, oh, cool. You didn't give Cody the belt. There's still some interest. Roman will come back. Whenever Roman will come back on SmackDown, we'll be like, oh, hell yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
And it'll just kick back up. So they're squeezing as much as they can from a good storyline here.
Are you surprised Kevin Owens is working as a babyface here?
I think he's best suited as a face at this point in his career.
Okay.
He came into the scene as a heel, but then everybody was cheering for him, and then he was kind of like that tweener heel, and then eventually they made him a face because that's where he's best suited. There's something about him. He's not convincing as a nasty, evil person. He doesn't have that real sick part of him, where Roman kind of is.
Yeah.
At times. He's not really convincing. Like, he throws temper tantrums and he's doughy, but he doesn't have that like edge that you kind of need from a heel. We saw that. I mean, I saw it on the commercials all tonight with the Iron Sheik. He has that certain nastiness to him.
Yeah.
Like only a man from the Middle East and from that intense background that he came from, would have.
I, I don't know. You've seen Kevin Owens way more than I have. You've seen Sami Zayn way more than I have too. Uh, they're the odd couple at this point, and they're trying to play that up personality wise. Is it working that they're the odd couple and they can keep the belts?
Well, that probably is the reason they could, right? Is that they'll be the odd couple, and I think it did this like with Austin and Dude Love a while years ago.
Okay.
Austin and Dude Love had a good run, and Dude Love was always annoying the hell out of Austin, and it was kind of a comedy gimmick, but I mean, Dude Love was definitely a comedy gimmick, but
Sure.
that really worked for them. With Foley being able to be the big personality and Austin just being kind of disgusted with the whole thing.
Okay. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. Not much wrestling on the show as far as match numbers, but 3 of the 4 matches we're going to say they were above average TV matches, right?
Yeah. Well, 3 of the 4 were good. I mean, there wasn't a match tonight where I was like, except for the squash, which we
Sure.
don't really need that. But the 3 matches probably were a little bit above what we normally would see.
Yeah,
All 3 of
above
them.
average TV matches.
Mhm. Any other things we missed here as we're kind of meandering down the list? Anything?
I don't think we missed anything at all. Unless you want to sort of spin it forward, and you mentioned the grabbing of the tights during the roll up. That's kind of a Vince McMahon thing. Are there other Vince McMahon things that look looked like they were creeping their way back into the show here?
Definitely.
Oh, okay, go for it. Because I didn't see anything that stood out to me. I don't know as much. I don't know the Vince playbook as much.
The vanilla babyface promo with the red ring for some reason, like I
All
guess,
the red carpet in the ring when the Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan came out.
and the red off lines that they had. Oh yeah, that is Vincent Kennedy McMahon all over it. He loves the live promos that are scripted in the ring with some wonky way to set up the ring to kind of, I don't know if he just wants to utilize the stage hands or what. Like, we got this red carpet, we have this stage crew, let's utilize it, rather than. So I think that was very Vince. Definitely grabbing the tights. And the recent series of no finishes. And I know that, like, not all, I mean, everything tonight, the matches were going good, everything was fine, but then the finishes were like a little unsatisfying. And that's going to be saved probably for the pay per view, whenever we're going to get the actual finishes.
Okay.
So, you look tonight, even LA Knight versus Xavier Woods. Can we just bury one of them? But no, we couldn't really bury anybody. We have to do the baby face holding the tights. Then you have Damian Priest over Escobar, but that was a big schmaz. There wasn't really that clean. And then all three matches had unclean finishes, and then obviously Solo. So
Well, yeah, the other two had interference. The LA Knight and Xavier Woods, clean match with a little bit of a turnabout as fair play at the end, maybe. But yeah, the other 2 matches, interference, including the main events.
mhm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the way you described it is probably the best description, that the match work is above average, but maybe the finishes leave a little to be desired.
Yeah, Cole didn't seem as comfortable as usual.
Oh,
That's another one. He kind of was blowing some spots. He's blowing some calls that he was saying the wrong things. Like, there was I think it was LA Knight. They said a big kick, but it was a punch, but he called it a kick. He just was botching a couple of his lines, and maybe that's
okay.
Vince screaming at him, or the fact that Vince screamed at him for years and he's traumatized. He just doesn't. He didn't feel as, like sometimes when Cole is with Pat McAfee and he's out there, he starts getting a little bit more confident. He's having a good time, and then he announces better because he's like positive and in a good mood, and
Oh, okay.
he's letting it flow. Tonight, he seemed real. He wasn't having a great night. He's kind of missing his calls. So
Hmm. Um, is something Triple H said that they played on the tease for the draft? He said this draft will change the game. And that's his nickname when he was a wrestler. The game is the. Do we want to read too much into that?
I think. Well, I'll tell you what. That's proof Vince isn't there, and that Triple H is still in charge because it's a Triple H putting himself over. Although Vince has always just put Triple H over. You know, I think before it was Triple H would be in the board meetings, in the booking meetings. He's like, "Oh, let me sit in," and then he's like, "Oh, how about you put me over?" And they're like, "Oh, okay." You know, that's kind of like how he got over for years and years.
Oh, is that easy? Can I sit in on your meetings? Hey, why don't you put me over?
Right. Oh, all right.
That's the secret sauce?
Yeah, ask the boss, can I win? So yeah, so anyways, Triple H has always, I mean, throughout this whole thing, even in the WWE commercials for 2K, their new video game, he's with Bad Bunny on a private jet. He's like, we go up like this, and they're like pound fists. It's like, what, Triple H? Why are you in the video game commercial? You're the booker. You're like behind the scenes. You're Kevin Sullivan. You shouldn't be out here, you know? But
what role do you see? Because they've announced Vince is chairman and going to be chairman of the board and maybe president of the new merged company. Nick Khan will have a role parallel to Dana White in UFC for the WWE brand. What role do you see Triple H having? Because I think Triple H ascending for the last 6 months or so has been good for the on-air product.
yeah, I mean, if the investment group, I don't know, I think they're going to just entrust Vince, and then Vince is going to call the shots. And I think, you know, Vince and Triple H are probably working it together, but, you know, he's the one ripping up the scripts, Vince, and making all the calls. So we'll see. We'll have to see how it evolves or devolves. I mean, if you see it start to go, there is also kind of a tendency I've noticed because I've been paying attention to the IWC, like the Internet Wrestling Community. If something good happens, then it's Triple H. If something bad happens, then it's Vince. So no matter what, without even knowing anything, it's just like, oh man, great match last night. Triple H is really killing it. Or oh God, what a lousy promo. Vince is back. So who knows? Has Vince has been pulling the strings the whole time, and he's like voodoo tricking us into thinking something's different when it's not. You know, I don't know.
What an unboss-like thing to do when we think about the evil boss. Like set it up so your underling gets the credit and you get the blame.
Right.
That would be a very babyface boss thing to do.
Well, Vince is so buried within the wrestling community at this point. I don't think there's much that he could do to like win the trust back of the fans and all that. Versus Triple H, he was the booker at NXT, and everybody liked NXT a lot. They had all the indie guys, and now they're in AEW. So he's really, yeah, he's kind of like the I mean, you know how it is. Like he's going to be the darling, and then they're going to get sick of him, and then people go back to Tony Khan's program. Like it's very fickle. The fans are fickle.
Well, at least we are not fickle here. We've been consistent in covering SmackDown and the WWE pay-per-views since we've been doing this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're almost at 6 months here for the two of us. Pretty good run of WWE programming that we've seen here. And this is the first time that I'm seeing a real WrestleMania reset.
Yeah.
And it looks intriguing so far. It's been a couple of weeks. So, I mean, overall, and maybe this is where we finish the follow here. Um, Thumbs up or thumbs down to the aftermath of WrestleMania so far?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah.
That was an enthusiastic and quick thumbs up.
I thought it was going to be trash because I
Okay.
figured we were going to have the bloodline just go away because they needed a break and they've been on TV a lot and they do that sometimes where they're like, okay, go away or go home for a couple weeks. And then you're going to be like real lost and you'll have Cody Rhodes, the baby face, he'll have some lousy heel challenger and I'd be like, oh, here we go. But I think so far so good, at least on the SmackDown
Okay.
perspective. They haven't been home runs. They haven't been like, wow, Gunther had the best TV match or anything like that. But my expectations were so low going into this that I'm like, all right, this is actually, they got like a couple good matches. So how about you?
I think it's been intriguing enough that they kept enough storylines going through WrestleMania, where it wasn't just like, okay, WrestleMania ends this entire year, and now we're just going to wipe slates clean and do something brand new. Uh, Interesting to me that they're keeping some storylines. I did not have low expectations because I did not know really what to expect. So is your enthusiasm more because your expectations were so low, or because this has been a pretty good product the last couple of weeks coming out of the granddaddy of them all, the biggest pay-per-view in all of pro wrestling?
Um, yeah, I'd have to say it's mostly based off of the fact that I had low expectations and they have exceeded them, rather than it's been amazing programming.
Okay.
Um, I did want to talk about
So they've got a little honeymoon period here with you.
exactly
All right.
uh, that's kind of it. So
All right. You looking up something there? It looks like you're deep in research here.
I'm cheating. I saw something today.
Okay. Wrestling related, WWE related.
So Logan Paul,
Your favorite.
yes. So he re-signed with the WWE.
Really?
Yeah, like he signed a new contract and he wanted to post about it, so he did. But then when he reposted it, they switched out the colors of his outfit to make it look like it was like a new thing, but it was an old photo. And they
Okay.
also photoshopped Stephanie McMahon out of it. So it was Hunter and Stephanie McMahon pointing to Logan Paul and then Logan Paul with like the contract. And then this new version was just a Photoshop of Triple H and Logan Paul, and then they just changed the colors of their outfit. And they're like, why did they Photoshop Stephanie McMahon out of the photo?
Oh, this is Stalin-esque.
Right. Um,
Wow. Hmm.
so yes, exactly. They photoshopped Stephanie out. And throughout this whole thing, I'm like, wow, Vince has done a great job. Um, getting a lot of money for the company, staying in power, and the kids are just screwed. Stephanie's been fired and sent home and being humiliated by being photoshopped out of pictures. Like she's just gone now. And then,
Wow.
um, Shane McMahon just blew his quad. So
Right.
the McMahon children have not made out well this last couple months here.
No, it hasn't been the best of times for the Vince McMahon offspring. But I'm more interested to know what Logan Paul resigning means. Like, what did his contract entail? How many dates is it? Is he serious about being a pro wrestler? Will he do some more TV matches? Will he do the kind of thing where it would matter if he got a belt?
Yeah. It feels like they'll probably give him one, and it sounds like he's almost positioned himself where he's at least valued probably by the company because he's that celebrity that, and then that he can actually, he's okay in the ring, so he can manage. I mean, he wrestled Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, so that is also helpful. That's why he's not my, everybody's singing his praises, but he's wrestling the two best workers in their company.
Yeah, he wrestled Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel.
He's
He's
getting,
had pretty good stuff.
he's not getting a Madcap Moss 4 minute
No,
squash.
they're not making him squash somebody, right? On a SmackDown episode.
They're giving him a main event, and they're whispering him and telling him what to do, and they're
Mm-hmm.
whispering, and he executes on what he's supposed to do. So, um,
Okay.
but it is kind of hilarious that Stephanie got photoshopped out of this, and I heard that on Cornette today, or like a couple, either today or yesterday, they were talking about it. So,
All right. So the news is already making its rounds
right, yeah,
that Stephanie was photoshopped out, and they did a little color swap with the color palette there.
exactly.
Huh.
All right, Dom. Well, we are coming up on an hour on the follow here. So, folks, what we're doing is we're putting a 10-minute clip out about the main event of WWE Smackdown, and we're going to do the long form version of the show as a separate piece here. So, for the folks out there that want to just, what the hell happened on the main event, we give like a 5-10 minute, review of the main and the lead. And then there's the follow where we talk about everything else. And this is your long form style of a recap of the show. So, Dom, anything else you wanted to add before we drop off here?
Looks like we've had a WrestleMania makeover ourselves here.
Yeah,
It's the lead and it's the follow, and we don't bury either one. Don't bury the lead, John, and don't bury the rest of the program either. Just maybe make it a little easier to digest for the viewers to get the lead out there right away in its own format, and then tell the rest of the story. So hey, I like it. Let's see. Tell us what you think. Comments. Tell us if you like this format a little better. We're up for experimenting a little more with how we present what we do.
absolutely. Dom, I couldn't have put it any better than you put it. Comment, like, subscribe, all that junk. Do it. Just do it. It's free. It's free. It doesn't affect you at all. And let me tell you something, Dom. Thanks so much for joining. We are about 6 months. Maybe we should keep a tally and we should party whenever, oh, man, we hit 6 months, we hit 7 months. Like Roman Reigns, as that title reign keeps going. We keep our
Yes.
reign going as well. So thanks so much for joining, Dom. I really appreciate it. We'll keep this ball rolling. We're going to have tons of little short videos coming out, shorter clips. We're kind of moving away from the shorts. Maybe we'll get back into them, but stay tuned for all of that. Dom, thanks so much for joining me tonight, and everyone out there, thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your evening.